Hare Krishna, welcome, good morning, good evening. So today we are going to cover Shlokas 10.19 to 10.25. Before we begin, I will say the prayers to Guru and God. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So I'll play the Guru Mantra.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः।
Hare Krishna. Okay. So you're all ready? I'll play the shlokas then. Okay, I'm playing 10.19 to 10.25.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Hantate kathayishyami divyahyatma vibhutayaha pradhanyatah kuru shrestha nastyanto vistarasya me ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhutashrayasthitaha ahamadishcha madhyam cha bhutanamanta eva cha आदित्यानामहं विष्णुर्ज्योतिषां रविरंशुमान् मरीचिर्मरुतामस्मि नक्षत्राणामहं शशी वेदानां सामवेदोऽस्मि देवानामस्मि वासवः इन्द्रियाणां मनश्चास्मि भूतानामस्मि चेतना रुद्राणां शङ्करश्चास्मि वित्तेषो यक्षरक्षसाम् वसूनां पावकश्चास्मि मेरुः शिखरिणामहम् पुरोधसां च मुख्यं मां विद्धि पार्थ बृहस्पतिम् सेनानीनामहं स्कन्दः सरसावस्मि सागरः महर्षीणां भृगुरहं गिरामस्म्येकमक्षरम् यज्ञानां जपयज्ञोऽस्मि स्थावराणां हिमालयः.
Hare Krishna. So who is reading today?
Me, Guruji.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this saying. Verse 10.19. The Supreme Lord said, "Now I shall describe to you my divine opulences, O best of the Kurus. I shall describe the most prominent ones, for there is no end to the extent of my opulences." 10.20. I am the Self, O Budakesha, seated in the hearts of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. 10.21. Among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the luminaries, I am the radiant sun. I am Marichi among the Maruts, and among the stars, I am the moon. 10.22. Among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Among the gods, I am Indra. Among the senses, I am the mind, and among the living entities, I am consciousness. 10.23. Among the Rudras, I am Sankara, and among the Yakshasas and Rakshasas, I am Kubera. Among the Vasus, I am fire, and among the peaked mountains, I am Meru. 10.24. Among the priests, O Pratha, know me to be the chief Brihaspati. Among the warrior commanders, I am Skanda, that is Kartikeya. And among the reservoirs of water, I am the ocean. Verse 10.25. Among the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Among speeches, I am the single syllable Om. Among sacrifices, I am the Japa Yagna, sacrifice of chanting. And among immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have, Krishna has said so many things. So we have a lot to cover today. In Bhagavad Gita, especially in the chapters where Krishna is talking about his universal form and he talks about his divine manifestations. Now, there is a very profound concept here. The concept is Arjuna, although he is a close friend of Krishna, although he is a devotee of Krishna, he is still a human being. Because he is still a human being, he is going to have limitations that all human beings will have for understanding. And we already know that the soul is a tiny spark of the divine. That we all agree. We all read in the second chapter already. Correct? No, the soul is a tiny spark of the divine. And Sri Krishna had said back in the second chapter that even the soul we cannot comprehend completely. So how can we comprehend the source of the soul? If you remember in the second chapter, it's a very beautiful shloka. It said, Ascharyavat pashyati kashyitenam, Ascharyavat vadati tata eva cha anyah, Ascharyavat cha enam anya shranoti, Shrutva api enam vedana cha eva kashyita. Some see the soul as amazing, some describe it as amazing, and some hear of the soul as amazing, while others, even on hearing, cannot understand it at all. So as you see, Krishna has explained that even the soul, although it is a tiny spark of the divine, is so hard to comprehend. Then how can you comprehend the source of the soul? That's what he's saying. So here Krishna is acknowledging Arjuna's limitation, but it is not in a judgmental way. He is acknowledging Arjuna's limitation in a very compassionate way. Compassionate, and he is a realist. So he knows what Arjuna can understand, what he can actually handle. That is why he says in 10.19, Ashaji, you want to read 10.19?
Yes, Guruji. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhagavan Hantate Kathayishyami Divyayatma Vibhutayah Pradhanyatah Kuru Shreshtha Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, the translation is, Krishna says, he is telling Arjuna, now I shall describe to you my divine opulences, O best of the Kurus. However, I shall describe the most prominent ones. Why? He is saying, I will describe the most prominent of my opulences because there is no end to my opulences. So, how can I explain that which is infinite? How can I explain infinite opulences to a finite mind? So we should also be in the mindset of humility here, that Krishna is still trying to be very humble and realistic and compassionate, and he is telling us only that we can handle. So with that mindset, with the mindset of humility, surrender, let us now go and look at what all Krishna is talking about. Okay. So Krishna is first telling all of us the vastness of the divine. He first tells us that. And then he reminds us of the finite nature of our own understanding. So both of these we have to keep in mind at the same time. That we are finite, he is infinite. And the finite is trying to comprehend the infinite. Okay. So then Krishna is saying that I am seated in the heart of all living entities. That is what is the concept of Paramatma, super soul. So does anybody remember we have discussed about the 3 types of Vishnu? Who remembers? Sulata remembers. Who else? Okay, Simranji also remembers. Chitraji remembers. Okay. Good. Chitraji, you want to say what are the 3 types of Vishnus?
I remember 2 of them, Garbhokshayi and Shirodakshayi.
Very good.
Then,
the third one is the cause of these 2. So that is Karanodakshaya Vishnu. So Karanodakshi Vishnu, Karana, he is Karana, he is the cause of everything. And then we have Garbhodakshayi and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. So here Krishna is saying, Aham Atma Gudakesa Sarva Bhute Sasya Stitaha. So he is saying, I am the self, O Gudakesha. I am seated in the heart of all beings. So this is talking about that Vishnu which is there in everybody's heart. So he is using a term, see, it's very important. See how he is calling Arjuna. Here he is addressing Arjuna as Gudakesha. It's very, very important in this context because Guda basically means either sleep or ignorance. So Gudakesha is one who has conquered ignorance or one who has conquered sleep and ignorance. So that is a hint to all of us that listen to my opulences and get rid of your ignorance. So Krishna is saying, I am present in every atom. See, this is very, very profound and very important because on one hand, he is the creator of the universe. So if he is the creator of the universe, he has to be larger than the universe. See, you have to always be larger than your creation in some way, in some aspect, correct? At least in the level of consciousness, you have to be higher than that you are creating. You cannot create something which has a higher level of consciousness than you. So on one hand, he is so vast, he is so big, he is so infinite. And on the other hand, he is saying, I am present inside an atom, whereas the atom itself is the tiniest of the tiny, and he is saying, I am present inside that. So it is going to take us a while to comprehend this. It's kind of very difficult. But this kind of all-pervading nature of the divine is described in this Svetasvatara Upanishad also. I will try to do justice to the shloka. It's a beautiful shloka. Eko devaha sarva bhuteshu gudaha sarva vyapau sarva bhuta antara atma karma adyakshaha sarva bhuta adivasah sakshi cheta kevalha nirgunacha. The one non-dual Supreme Lord is hidden in all beings, is all-pervading, is the inner soul of all beings, the impeller of all actions, the dweller in all beings. He is the witness, he is the perceiver, he is the only one, and he is free from all gunas. I mean, they have tried their best to describe that which cannot be described. I think they are still getting, only that much close for us to get an idea. And here they are talking about the nirguna aspect of the Lord. And they are saying that aspect is free from all gunas and it is existing everywhere. There is no place where that is not. Very profound. One without a second. So what does it highlight? It's highlighting the transcendental nature of God, who is not bound by any physical laws. And again, that Lord is infinitely large, infinitely large, and also infinitesimally small. And infinitely large and infinitesimally small are occurring simultaneously. How can you comprehend this? So that is the paradox of most of the descriptions. So this is why it is so hard. Because as humans, we are all seasoned, we are all trained to think of something as big, small, tall, short, white, black. Like this is how we are all conditioned. How can, like for example, somebody is asking you what color is this? Can you say it is both pink and blue? I mean, we are not conditioned to that. If somebody asks you, like, that destination, is it far or near? Have you ever heard somebody say it is both far and near? We are not conditioned that way. We are conditioned to look at one dimension, correct? And that is the paradox. And that is one of the reasons why it is so hard to explain that infinite, which is infinitely large, as well as infinitesimally small. And then Krishna is saying he is the beginning, middle and end of all beings. How should we understand that? Beginning, middle and end. See, we all know that all living beings are created by Krishna. So because we are all created by him, he is the beginning. Creation is the beginning. And then Krishna himself said, I am in the heart of everybody. So that is the middle. And then when we get liberation, we get mukti, we again get union with him. So that is how Krishna is the end. This is how we should understand. So that is what he means by I am the beginning, I am the middle, and also I am the end. He is the cause, he is the sustainer, and he is the ultimate goal. We all go back to him. So there is another Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. There it says, Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisam vishanti tad vijigyasasva tad brahma. Very, very profound. It says, from which indeed all beings are born, by which when born they all live, to which they all go after death, and into which they all enter. That is Brahman. See how many different ways these Upanishads are trying to explain and trying to describe that indescribable, infinite Brahman. So the basically these Upanishads are also, they are trying to encourage us to inquire. We have to inquire into the nature of Brahman. No. It is not about intellectualization. It is about inquiry, internal inquiry. And we have to keep saying, oh, this God is so great. This God is so infinite. This God is also infinitesimally small. This God is also the beginning. This God is also the middle. This God is also the... So the way, if we keep on, introspecting, if we keep on like inquiring on these lines, on how great is the God and how am I supposed to comprehend, that aligns us with the true greatness of God. God is not just some figure with like 4 hands and some weapons in the hand. That is kind of a very simplified version. There is another very beautiful Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad. It is called Mundaka Upanishad also. It is called Mandukya Upanishad also. And that Upanishad you can read if you want. It's a collection of poems, and those poems are all teaching meditation. That Upanishad is full of poems, and each poem helps us meditate upon the true nature of Brahman and true nature of the self. There are 3 parts to the Upanishad. One is the science of higher and lower knowledge. The other is the true nature of the self. And the third is how do you know Brahman, the state of knowing Brahman. Like how do you know that you have known Brahman? So Mandukya Upanishad is very beautiful. I have taken one shloka from that Upanishad just to give you some encouragement on why we should know the Brahman. So Mandukya Upanishad 2nd chapter says, Yasmin Dhyau Prithvi cha Antariksham Otam Manah Saha Pranav cha Savvam Tam Eva Ekam Janata Atmanam Anya Vachaha Vimuchatta Amrutasya Eshaha Setuha. In whom the heaven, the earth, and the space in between are woven, together with the mind and all the vital breaths, know him alone as the one self. All other words dismiss, because he is the bridge to immortality. So what the shloka is saying is, he's talking about the all-encompassing nature of the Supreme. And the shloka is saying that we have to try and recognize this as the ultimate reality, and we should avoid all other topics of discussion. This is a very, very good message for all of us, that don't waste time in mundane discussions, don't waste time in trying to understand a lot of material stuff. Do it only as far as is required for survival, but after that, spend all your time inquiring about that Supreme and trying to understand that Supreme. So based on this, even Adi Shankaracharya, there is a scripture called Brahma Sutras. So there, Adi Shankaracharya wrote a commentary on the Brahma Sutras, and he has said the same thing. He said that knowledge of this Atman is the road to attaining liberation. See, but carefully read what Shankaracharya says. It's one line, but it is still very profound. He says, knowledge of the Atman is the road to attainment of liberation. It doesn't say that knowledge of the Atman gives you liberation. It is a road. That is what we have always said. This knowledge is important, but this knowledge can only take us till the gate. If you have to gain entry, then you need the grace of Lord. And how do you get the grace of Lord? Total surrender, total humility, total lack of pride, including the pride of having the knowledge that has taken you till the gate. Okay. So from here on till the end of the chapter, Krishna will reveal all his prominent Vibhutis, and he is beginning by talking about the Adityas. So he says, among the 12 Adityas, I am Vishnu. Krishna is revealing his divine manifestation. He is saying, I am Vishnu, most significant. Do you all know who are the Adityas? So they are all the sons of Aditi. Aditi was the wife of Saint Kashyapa, who was one of the Sapta Rishis. You all know who is Sapta Rishis? The 7 original Rishis who are supposed to have been the root of all humanity. So Kashyapa is also known as Prajapati, just FYI, if you are interested. And he is mentioned everywhere. If you read any Puranas, any Vedas, you will see him being mentioned there. So there are 12 Adityas. I'll quickly tell you the names. Ansa, Aryaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Datri, Indra, Mitra, Ravi, Savitar, Surya, Varuna, Vamana. The 12th is Vamana. Who is Vamana? The dwarf avatar. Dwarf avatar of who? Vishnu. So that is what Krishna is saying. He is saying, I am that also. Among those Adityas, I am that Vishnu. So what is he trying to explain? What is he trying to say by saying that I am Vishnu? He is saying, I am responsible for maintaining the cosmic order. I am the preserver of the universe. I sustain all life. That's what he is trying to tell us. So there are a few key aspects I wanted to bring out. So whenever you think of Vishnu, what are the things that should come to mind? I'll keep it short, but I'll give you some key pointers. One is preservation. Vishnu is responsible for preserving anything in the universe. Whatever is being preserved is because of Vishnu. Second, centrality of devotion. In other words, that should be the ultimate object of our devotion, Vishnu. And the other aspect is, he is the symbol of mercy and compassion and goodness. He is a very kind and protective God, because he always responds to the prayer of our devotees. By saying that he is Vishnu, Krishna is telling that I am ready, I am waiting, I want to offer my grace to you. I want you to experience my compassion. I am waiting. He is saying, but will you come? Will you realize? Will you acknowledge? Very, very touching. And also we should understand that whenever somebody says Vishnu, we should also understand how Vishnu takes all these avatars just for the sustainment, just for the maintenance, just for us. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. So he says, I will come again and again and again and again. So that is again another aspect of his compassion, another aspect of his kindness, that he is always coming and taking care of us. And then he is saying, I am Marichi among the Maruts. So this is a very profound statement. I'll try to explain what is Marichi and what is this Maruts. So the Maruts, they are a group of winds which are supposed to be flowing throughout the universe. And they are considered to be children of Rudra. Rudra is Shiva, another aspect of Shiva. And so whenever they say Maruts in our scriptures, the Maruts are described as very youthful warriors, full of energy, full of radiance, full of strength, full of courage, very heroic warriors. That is what these Maruts are. It is said that even Indra takes their help whenever he has to fight any battles. So among those Maruts, their leader of those Maruts is a Marut called as Marichi. So Krishna is saying, among those Maruts, I am the leader. I am the best Marut. So it is not, I am explaining this because for some reason Marichi is not that much described in our scriptures. I don't know why. At least the primary scriptures, you don't see much of the mention of Marichi. But Marichi literally means a ray of light. That is what Marichi is. So this is aligning with what? So why would Krishna take the name of Marichi? The most important aspect of Marichi is the ray of light. The name itself means. So Krishna says, I am Marichi, which means I am light, which means I am dispelling ignorance and negativity. So that aspect Krishna is bringing out here by saying, I am Marichi. There are many other aspects I can call out about Marichi, but maybe I will just share it offline in my notes. You can read it. And after that, Krishna says, among the stars I am moon. Now this is very interesting. So pay attention. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I'm not sure, but maybe you have. Krishna says, I am the star, I am the moon among the stars. Nakshatra namaha shashi. This statement is very rich. Why? Because if you see, first of all, the sun and moon, they are very important in the Vedic cosmology. And sun, of course, you know, it dispels all darkness. Sun gives life. Without sun, there is no life. And in other sections of the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, even Rig Veda, the sun is always described as a very potent manifestation of the divine. So Krishna is identifying himself with that powerful source of light. And then he is saying, Lord of Nakshatras, moon. Because in Vedic astrology, most of you may have been interested in your astrology, right? Your Kundali. Everybody is interested in getting their Kundali created, and they all want to know their future. But if you see any of your Kundali, it is all centered around the moon. That is why Krishna is calling about the moon. So the moon, wherever the moon is, when you are born, determines a lot about your mindset, about your future. Also, the moon is responsible for the tides. Moon is responsible for all the other natural phenomena. Do you all know that the moon is very perfectly placed? The moon determines the tilt of our planet. If our planet was not tilted, there would be no seasons. This is all like documented in science. So it's very, very interesting that, that tilt is what is determining all the seasons we have on the planet. So if the tilt was not there, we would have no seasons. If there are no seasons, just imagine, correct? And if the moon was even 10% further from where it is, our earth will start wobbling. It will not be stable. And if the moon was 10% closer, even, I'm saying 10% is too much, even 1%. If the moon is closer, then there will be tsunamis every day. Still there cannot be life. So is it coincidence that the moon is perfectly where it is supposed to be? And it is sustaining all life in its own way. So just as the moon impacts everything on earth, just like that, Krishna's divine presence impacts everything here. Just as the moon gives life in its own way, nobody realizes that the moon is responsible for life on the planet. We only know the sun. But if there was no moon, there would be no life. But we don't realize that. But it is still true. Just like that, Krishna's grace and his compassion is responsible for all life. Although we may not realize that. But that is the truth. And then he says, Nakshatranam aham shashi. Again. So there could be some confusion. I'm surprised nobody had a question. Or did anybody have a question? Yes, Ashaji?
Is it like the moon is not star and it's saying that among the stars I'm the...
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. Thank you very much. Yeah, because everybody, a lot of people, especially youngsters, when I tell this, they immediately raise their hands. They're like, Krishna is calling the moon as a star. Yeah, so I took some time to explain that aspect. So he's not literally calling the moon a star. The confusion is because in Sanskrit, the word nakshatra, it can have different meanings depending on where it is used. So when it comes to Vedic astrology, the nakshatra is usually referred to the 27 or 28, we call it houses, right? Or mansions or houses. So it is referring to that. And the moon passes through all of them through the monthly cycle. And also, in many contexts, nakshatra can also be used to talk about any celestial body in general. That is how it has been used historically in Sanskrit. It is less common, but you can still find it in Sanskrit literature where they are calling any celestial body as a nakshatra. So when Krishna says Nakshatranam aham shashi, he is using the nakshatra in the primary sense. What is the primary sense? It is the lunar houses, the lunar mansions. that the moon passes through. So the correct translation should be the correct translation for nakshatranam. I'm not saying the scholars have made a mistake. The scholars have given the literal translation. But if you want to make it correct from a contextual perspective, the translation should be, among the lunar houses or among the lunar mansions, I am the moon itself. That is how you should translate that. So he's not equating moon with a star, but rather he is talking about his position as the Lord of all that houses that the moon passes through. I hope that makes sense. So basically the confusion is because in English, whenever we say nakshatra, we translate directly to star. That is the whole confusion. Whereas in Sanskrit, the original Sanskrit, that word nakshatra can have multiple meanings based on where it is used. Ashaji, that clears your question? Doubt?
Yes, Guruji.
Thank you for asking it. That gave me an opportunity to explain. Otherwise, I would have skipped that explanation altogether. Yeah. So, but in general, so he's saying I'm Marichi, he's saying I'm moon, he's saying I'm this, he's saying I'm that. What we should understand, that given any collection of objects or things, he is the topmost, he is the best, he is the supreme. That is the reason he is giving examples. If he just says I'm supreme, it is a little difficult to understand. So he's saying, okay, these are the 7 warriors, but then I am their leader. Or he will say, these are the 28 mansions and I am the central of it. And so on and so forth. And just like that, now very interesting thing that Krishna says. He says, among all the Vedas, I am Samaveda. And among all the demigods, I am Indra. Among all the senses, I am the mind. And among all living beings, I am the intelligence. That gives you an idea of what is supreme among all of this. The confusing part could be where he says, Vedanam Samavedosmi. He's saying, I am the Samaveda. Why Samaveda? Because everybody everywhere thinks Rig Veda is, everybody talks about Rig Veda. Why Samaveda? In fact, there are some scholars, especially if you look at Manusmriti, there they say that Samaveda is not pure. They don't give proper status to Samaveda. Why? I'll give you some context for Samaveda. So the Vedas, you know what the Vedas are. They are Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda, 4 Vedas. So Rig Veda is mostly hymns, Yajur Veda is mostly rituals, Atharva Veda is mostly about mantras, incantations and chants and all of that. Whereas Samaveda is different, it is distinct. In what way is it is mostly centered around music. It is musical recitation of chants and melodies. So all Hindustani music, if you say the Hindustani classical music, it has its origins in Samaveda. Even Carnatic for that matter. Whenever you say classical music, the origin is Samaveda. So why is it called impure? So in Manusmriti, they call Samaveda impure. Asamam Maithunam. Why? Because they have a concern. It is a very scholarly take on it. They are saying that you are having these chants and you are mixing it with musical notations also. So according to them, because somehow musical notations, they consider it as less pure than the mantras themselves. So they say because Samaveda mixes the music element with the mantras and chants, so they think it is less important. So why I am calling this out is, then why is Krishna saying I am Samaveda? Why is Krishna not saying I am Rig Veda? Because everybody universally acknowledges Rig Veda to be something very great. Correct? So that is why I want to take some more time to explain. It's a very, very beautiful aspect here, if we can explain that. My special thanks and gratitude to Lokmanya Tilak, because he is one of the people who has simplified this explanation. Of course, there are other scholars also who have explained this. I'll talk about that. But Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he wrote a book called Gita Rahasya, The Secret of Gita. And there he's explaining why Krishna calls himself as Samaveda. So, what does Tilak say? Bal Gangadhar Tilak says that the essence of bhakti lies in the emotional response that we have to God. See, jnana means the intellectual response. Karma means the physical response. Whereas bhakti means the emotional response. What is the emotional response? It is usually like music. Kirtan. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kirtan is very powerful in Kali Yuga. What is Kirtan? Kirtan is a musical way of appealing to the Lord. And Samaveda is all about music. That is why Krishna is relating himself with Samaveda. If you remember in the previous 9th chapter, Krishna had said that bhakti is the best. Even before that, he has said that he considers bhakti to be the best path, absolute path. And which of the Vedas is aligning mostly with bhakti? That is Samaveda. And that is why Krishna is identifying himself with bhakti, because Krishna is the absolute, the ultimate object of devotion. Correct? Yeah, Ekansh?
Guruji, can we say that emotions and bhava are very similar?
Yes, it is. Bhava is emotion. Bhava is emotion. So, love is an emotion. Very funny. People like to be loved, but they don't like an emotional person. But love is an emotion. So,
Very true.
I've heard some people say that, I cannot love that person because that person is very emotional. I'm like, then what person would you like? Oh, I would like somebody who loves me. But then I'm like, is love not an emotion?
Difference between emotional turmoil then. A person having a lot of mood swings, emotional turmoil, angers.
That is not the problem of emotion, na? That is the problem of how we handle our emotion. So, turmoil basically means you can't handle it. Just like Krishna is here saying, we cannot even handle his opulences. We cannot handle, if Krishna, like when Krishna gave his Vishwarupa Darshanam, Arjuna couldn't handle it. Arjuna said, no, Krishna, I am scared. Go back to your usual form with two hands. So we cannot handle doesn't mean that thing is inherently bad. Yes, Mitaji?
Yeah, I was wondering if it can be related to left brain and right brain. Mostly the trend is that people always think the right brain is the best. So probably I have no idea of Rigveda, but probably the Rigveda may represent that. And Samaved, which is connected to emotions and the music, art form. So that's the left brain. Is it related to say that he's also encouraging when he says that he is a Samaveda? He's also encouraging that as we are the tiny specks of the Brahma, within us we are activated with the brain. So if he is a part of our left brain, I mean, this is very vague in my mind, but I just thought of talking about it.
No, so it's just the left brain is processing it, but the emphasis is on the heart. So Krishna says, I am in your heart, and whenever we talk about love is a matter of heart. And Samaveda is all about expressing that love using music. So it is something that derives from the heart. So that's what Krishna already said, that I exist and I live in your hearts. So also in the same sloka, Krishna is saying, Devanam asmi vasavaha. Vasavaha is Indra. And he says, Indriyanam manascha asmi. Manas is mind. So Krishna is saying, among the senses, I am the manas. Very important, because when we say senses, we only think it is eyes, nose, tongues, and ears, right? So, but Krishna is saying even the manas is a sensory organ, and he says, I am the manas. It's a very unique thing, because we have all the 5 senses that we are aware of, that we use to perceive the world, but we also have a 6th sense, and the 6th sense is manas. It's basically the mind, and it is more refined. Everything else is very gross, but the mind is very refined. And without the manas, the other senses won't work. So it is the manas which kind of coordinates all the other senses. So it is again the same way, like the moon, you don't realize how important it is, but it is important for all life. Just like that, the manas, we don't even realize. We only realize the eyes, nose, and all of that because that's what we think exists. But it is the manas which is coordinating all of them. If there was no manas, none of your organs would work. That is why Krishna is saying, I am that, I am manas. No, Krishna is again emphasizing that he is the source. and He is the essence of everything that exists. And He is also the divine intelligence that guides the functioning of the mind and senses. And He is also the power behind everything. He is the power behind even the gods. So, if you see, Krishna is aligning Himself with all the topmost entities. He is aligning with Rudras, Yakshas, Vasus, mountains, priests, commanders, sages. You think about it. Because He says, among the Rudras, I am Shiva. Among the Yakshas, I am Kubera. How many people know who is Kubera? So many people know Kubera because he's money, na? So everybody knows Kubera. Okay. And then he says, among the Vasus, I am Agni. Among the mountains, I am Meru. Why is Meru important? Because in our scriptures, symbolically they say Meru is the center of the universe, but basically it is also talking about our spinal cord. So in our human body, we may think the head is most important or the heart is most important, but actually it is the spinal cord. Because if anything happens to the spinal cord, our body cannot function. It is the central pathway to all the nerves and all the impulses. And then he's talking about among priests, I'm Brihaspati. And among commanders is Kartikeya. Who knows who is Kartikeya? Okay, we have a few people know. He is Ganesha's brother. He is Kartikeya. Because, why is he calling himself as Kartikeya? Because Kartikeya is known to be a supreme commander, warrior. And Krishna says, I will be fighting for righteousness. I will fight against adharma. So he is identifying himself with that warrior commander. Okay, just like that, the other most prominent and most profound thing he says is, I am Om. So profound. Because the Om, we also discussed earlier, the Om is to be pronounced as Om. It is A, U and And it is the primal sound. What is a primal sound? It is a root mantra from which everything else came. There is one other very significance of Om in our scriptures. Om is called as Anahat Nad. What is the Anahat Nad? Which means unstruck sound. In other words, every sound that we can hear is caused by striking of something. Something strikes against something, then we hear a sound. But Om came, it is the origin of everything. So it was not a side effect of something striking something. That's a very profound way. That is why Om is known as Anahat Nad. So Krishna says, I am Om, which means he's also saying, I am the source again. I am the source and I am the sustainer of everything that exists, because Om is the root sound. Anahat Nad. He has said something similar in the 7th chapter as well as the 8th chapter. So in 7th chapter, 7.8, do we have Ashaji here? Yeah, Ashaji, you want to read 7.8, please?
Yes. Hare Krishna. 7.8. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranavah sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham nrushu. 8.13. Omitekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam manusmaram yah prayati tajandeham sayati paramam gatim. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Asha. Very beautiful. Beautifully rendered. Thank you so much. So in 7.8, Krishna says, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water. If you have ever been thirsty, then you would know what the taste of water is. If you are drinking water just for fashion, then you won't know. But if you really drink water when you are very, very thirsty, then you will feel the taste of water. At that point, no other liquid will do. I can give you Amrut, but even that won't be sufficient. When you are really thirsty, the only thing that can quench your thirst is water. So he's saying, I am the taste of that water. I am the light of sun and moon. And he says, I am the syllable Om of the Vedic mantras. So he has said that back in the 7th chapter as well. And in the 8th chapter, 8.13, that Ashaji beautifully rendered, he says, departing the body with the mind fixed on me and uttering Om, you can achieve the supreme goal. Make sense? So see, now you should get more interest, because there is something to gain here. by understanding the importance of Om. So Krishna says, focus on me, remember me, and chant Om when in your Antakale, then you will reach me. But what is the challenge here? If it was so simple, why do you think everybody doesn't get liberation?
Because they don't have Ananya Chintan.
Yes.
They
First of
don't-
all, you don't know when your Antakale will come, no matter what any astrologer says. Okay. And second, when your Antakale comes, whatever you have been predominantly thinking throughout your life, that thought will only come. It is guaranteed. You cannot cheat the system. See, there is a very famous story. I read it in Amar Chitra Katha, but that story is supposed to be true. Where a very great scholar comes and the scholar says, I can speak 17 languages and I'm so fluent in all those languages. And then Akbar has a doubt. So Akbar calls Birbal and he says, Birbal, this guy is really a scholar. He knows 17 languages and he's so fluent in all of them. I have no idea what his mother tongue is. How can I tell what his mother tongue is? Because he's so fluent in all the languages, right? Birbal says, oh, that is very easy. I will help you figure it out, So at night, midnight, when this guy is deep in sleep, he goes and pours cold water on his head. And suddenly he wakes up and starts shouting in his mother tongue. Birbal says, see, that's his mother tongue. So what is the tatparya behind that? No matter how much of a wise guy, how much of a scholar or how much you are, but whatever is predominant in your mind, that is what will come when you are faced with uncertainty, when you are faced with something shocking. And death is the most shocking thing that you will ever face in your life, believe it or not. So at that time, even if you are a jnani, whatever predominantly your thought process has been, if you have always been a miser, you will think about money. If you have always been like a power freak, you will think about power. If you have always been greedy, again, you will think about money. And all of that. Some people think of animals, some people think of humans, some people think of, whatever, right? If you have to think of Krishna, then as Ekansh said, Ananya Chintan, you have to practice. Practice. So don't worry when the Antakale comes. If you practice Ananya Chintan, during Antakale, his thought will come. And Krishna says at that time, if we can also say Om, then you are liberated. So how can we practice that? Later on, Krishna will also say that the Om is also the same as the Mahamantra. So it is one and the same. You can just say Om. You can also say the Mahamantra. Mahamantra means you can say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. You can also say Om Namo Narayanaya. They are all the same. Okay. They all start, Om Namo Narayanaya starts with Om, by the way. Okay. And also the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is supposed to be the most powerful mantra that has originated from Om, as per our scriptures. And that mantra is about enlightenment. Okay. Om Bhurvasa Tatsa Viturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yonah Prachodayat. Diyo Yonah Prachodayat. Fill me with light. So when Krishna is saying, I'm Om, he's not only talking about being the source of all sounds, but he's also saying, I'm the origin of all wisdom. I'm origin of all spirituality. So profound. He can say one thing and it means so much. Okay, so this links again to what we discussed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching, that in the age of Kali Yuga, how does Kali Yuga look like? It looks like what it is now. Total degradation of spiritual values, moral values. There is no concept of righteousness. Anybody who makes money is supposed to be the, right. If you have money, you are right. Whatever you do is right. That is Kali Yuga. So in this Kali Yuga, how can we progress spiritually? How can we get the grace of Lord? That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, and that's what many other great saints and sages have said. Harer Nama, the holy name. You have to chant. So what is the holy name? As I said, you can either say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, that mantra, or you can also say Om Namo Narayanaya. They are the same. They'll both take you there. Whichever aligns better with you, you pick. See, Krishna is not saying I am like the holy name. Krishna is not saying that, I am in the holy name. Krishna says, I am the holy name. Even the Bible has something very similar. In the beginning, there was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So the same concept is there in other scriptures also, where Krishna is saying, I am the holy name. So there is no difference between the name and Krishna himself. That is why that holy name is so pavitra. We have to treat it with so much respect and so much devotion and so much of humility. In other words, we all say Krishna manifests himself during different yugas. So right now, you should consider the holy name as another manifestation of Krishna himself. It has been given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a way, and other saints also. Like Om Namo Narayanaya is also there. So they are direct manifestations of Krishna himself. So he is affirming this. In 10.25, Krishna is saying why it is important to chant the holy name. So, I think we are all on the right track. We are all chanting the name. Hopefully, you are all chanting as many times as you can in your day. You can chant in your mind also. There is no need to make a show of it. Some gurus have said that when you chant, you have to chant loudly. But the reason for that is, many times we think we are in a meditative state, but we are actually half asleep. So, they want to make sure that we don't fall asleep or we are not in the sleep state when we are chanting. That is why they say chant loudly. But once you cross that stage, once you think you have better control over your mind and you have better focus, then actually chanting inside your mind is supposed to be the most potent. Just like that, worshipping God using bells and horns and diyas, it is good. But if you can worship God in your mind, that is more powerful, most powerful. That is called Manasa Puja. So worship in your mind and chant in your mind. If you can do that constantly, you can do that no matter physically what else you are doing. You can be driving, you can be cooking, you can be doing anything you want, but in your mind you can still be chanting, you can still be focusing. That is the method given by many great saints and sages to get Krishna's grace here. So in the next few shlokas, he will reveal more of his vibhutis. So let's stay together and enjoy and relish all of that. And what are we doing right now? By listening to, okay, this is a tough question for some, maybe it is easy for some. So what are we doing right now? What are we doing? We are listening to all these opulences of Krishna. So what would you call it?
Satsang.
Okay. What else?
Shravan.
Yes. So what we are doing right now is Shravanam. What are the other two things we need to do?
Manan.
Nididhyasan. So that's what we need to do, and that is what we have discussed so far. Manasa Puja, chanting the name and all of that, and introspecting, inquiring about the nature of Brahman. So listen to God's vibhutis, sing his glories, chant his name, worship him in your mind, and inquire about that greatness, vastness of the infinite Lord. How vast it is, how beyond comprehension it is. So that way you cover all three, Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan, and then there is no stopping. Because everything works on laws, right? Everything works on. Have you ever come across a situation where somebody jumps from somewhere and instead of going down they go up? It doesn't happen, right? Because gravity is a law. It is just like that. Everything in the universe works on laws because those laws are written by Krishna. And Krishna says if you do Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan the right way, you are supposed to reach him. That is the law. So you don't have to have any doubts. You don't have to have any questions there. Just do it. Nike's logo. Just do it. And then your path is guaranteed. Your goal is guaranteed. And that is the reason why we are spending so much time trying to understand Krishna's vibhutis, because they help confirm. They help give us that confirmation on the greatness of Krishna, and also they are helping with Shravan. Make sense? Okay, Hare Krishna. I will stop talking. Did anybody have any question, comments? You can do Shravan later, na? Manan also. Simran ji is saying, abhi pariprashna karna chahiye. Right, Simran? Good. Yeah. Is it making sense? Is it too much? Am I going too fast, or is it too slow? Or do you think it is okay?
It's amazing.
Yes, Rajesh?
Not a question, but I always heard that whether when you chant the name, right? Is it chanting the sound, right? Sound has any significance? Is that should be done in the mind versus it should be done with the sound, right? So I used to think that sound has some significance. That you are listening to that sound as well, so that helps or something. So it's good to understand what you just said about
Yes, yes. The
how
sound is
to chant.
important. The sound is important, but the sound enters your ear and it goes to your brain. When you are chanting in your mind with focus, it directly goes to your brain. It doesn't need the ear. But the sound is still there. So when you say Om, you can hear the Om in your head. It doesn't have to come from out. That is the whole concept. Yes, sound is important for sure. So I know some people who in the early morning they try to play some Vishnu Sahasranamam or some such shlokas. That has a very purifying effect on the entire environment also. So we are not saying that don't use sound at all. In fact, when you do Manasa Puja, when you do this chanting in your mind, that is really good for you. But when you do it loudly, it is good for others. So Kirtanam, the main advantage of Kirtan is maybe there are some people who are not focusing on God, but when you loudly do Kirtan, they also start thinking about that. So Kirtan is supposed to have a benefit that way. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Kirtan karo. So in my opinion, we should have a mix of everything. When we are in a group, let us do Kirtan. When we are by ourselves, let us do Manasa Puja. Ekansh, you were saying something?
No, Guruji. I just, something popped up in my mind like last session, that you told once a story of a thief, right? When a
Yes.
thief met Krishna, and after talking to Krishna, his body and his thoughts, his soul got just purified. It would be the same effect with Arjuna as well, right? While he was talking, everything would be more faster with Krishna. Like when he was talking to Krishna, everything will be so good for him, getting purified more faster, so that he was able to surrender more quickly. Like, I don't know, that was just popping up in my mind, that how great Arjuna was.
Totally. No, how great Krishna was. That
Krishna was, and I mean,
Krishna.
how lucky he was that he got a teacher like Krishna and a friend like Krishna. He was right in front of him, and they were just talking. They
So
were
again,
having.
it is not because Arjuna was great that Krishna came in front of him. Krishna came in front of him because he was compassionate. He wanted to give a message that will be applicable to all of humanity. Otherwise, Krishna would have ideally been in a Himalayas in some cave, right? Where there are elevated sages sitting there, elevated saints who could have understood what he is saying much faster. Okay, but he didn't choose them. He chose somebody who was a difficult student in the beginning, who would debate and who would argue and all of the way, because that is most of humanity. We are all Arjunas. We are all fighting our battles. We all have so many questions. And so Krishna wants to set an example that you can reach me even if you are a grahastha like Arjuna. You can reach me even if you are a rebel like Arjuna. You can reach me even if you are confused like Arjuna. You can reach me even if you are imperfect like Arjuna. So in fact, Arjuna is not portrayed as great here. Don't forget, right at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the same Arjuna had a mental diarrhea. So, but Krishna is still gracing him. Krishna is not expecting us to be perfect to get his grace. That is the most profound message. Krishna is accepting us the way we are, as imperfect as we are, and imparting the knowledge.
True. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Okay then, really nice, beautiful company I have. So grateful to all of you, and thank you for staying in spite of the interruptions. Hare Krishna, all of you. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening. See you all in the next session.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guruji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.